Hey everyone, it's time to take a look at Bambi on this installment of the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. And yeah, I haven't actually watched this since I was very, very little. I do remember it, but very little of it. What surprised me was that this thing is barely over an hour long. So basically, back in the 1940s, this came out in 1942. Before, just a few months before we entered the Second World War, um, we got an hour and 10 minute ish feature film from Disney, their fifth. And for once, it was not some sort of supernatural magical thing. It was meant to look and feel like a day in the lives of real woodland animals. And this actually got a little bit of controversy. Hunters, especially, were enraged at the idea. Of some people wrote to into some magazines or something like that about. I read this earlier. That this is a kind of a blight or a black mark against the American sportsman. That this is Disney should be ashamed. It was along those lines. It's not those exact words. I'm sure you can look it up. But it's kind of funny that a movie like Bambi hurt the feelings of hunters and made them look like bad guys when they literally did not appear in the movie whatsoever, as many of you already know. But they are the single bad guy in this thing. Although Bambi does battle another deer for the love of Faline. But the funny thing is it Faline? Faline? Yeah, whatever. It's, yeah, it's, I'm gonna look her up here. Hold on. It's just, okay, whatever. No, it's, beyond that, what's strange about this film, visually, is the fact that it's just so well painted. It's just the backgrounds, even the backgrounds are just lush, detailed in some ways, but yet just so unassuming in others. They just, you kind of take them for granted at first, but when you really take a chance to look right at this film, they work perfectly with the animation that lays over top of it, of the animals moving in very natural, it seems like natural ways, obviously, other than their human-like expressions and, of course, talking and things like that. The backgrounds is something, if you could, you don't want to do this, but if you just turned off the sound, you could still appreciate this movie just for its just lush woodland landscapes and things like that. It's so beautifully done, and of course the animation themselves, the creatures and the animals, especially when they're running from the hunters, or even from the fire. There is in some ways a complete lack of detail, and it's almost an impressionistic look at how when the deer are just zooming through the screen, through the shot from right to left. They're in an array of colors that you wouldn't associate with deer, but it's all about the excitement, the terror of the moment, and just you see huge swashes of reds and oranges and blues as they just sort of, it creates a certain level of depth that you just don't assume to find in what one would assume is just a kids movie. And yes, once again, keeping with the tradition of a bit of terror in Disney films, and the loss of a parent. While Dad stands aloof, the Prince of the Forest, Mom is very loving and takes care of Bambi, along, with the help of his new friends, Thumper and such. Of course, we know what happens to Mom. And by the way, if you want to skip that part, that's just too heartbreaking for you. I mean, supposedly Paul McCartney of the Beatles, his decision to become a vegetarian, vegan, and fight for animal rights was due to seeing Bambi when he was a kid, when he was younger. Yeah, so if you want to skip that, it's at the 41-minute mark. And you just skip along to maybe about 43, 44 minutes, and 45 just to be safe, and you'll skip to the next phase of his life. So, and played by all different voice actors at the point. At that point, the funny thing is, it's really genuine little kids at the very beginning for Bambi, Thumper, Flower, uh, ages 4, 5, especially Thumper. He was a 4-year-old kid who basically couldn't string 2 sentences together, and they worked with that. Some of the people who were in the recording or in the casting, trying to pick kids for the role, didn't really like him because he didn't have the focus. He didn't have the chops that some of the other kids had that were probably more attuned actors, maybe his age and older. But he had this voice that if you watch Bambi, he's his delivery is unique. His delivery is interesting, but they worked around his inability to completely focus. And by the way, there are great little interviews and behind the scenes stuff you can find. I think possibly in the extras here. I didn't check, but also on YouTube and other places, you can find some interviews with the cast talking about their experience when they were being cast and recording for Bambi. It's kind of interesting. And they're, as far as I can tell, when some of these were recorded, they're still alive. They're in their 70s now. They're in their late 70s. And they're, yeah. So it'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to check that out. So yeah, the voices, the look, the sound, the music. Honestly, the other thing is you could actually, rather than turning off the music and just watching, you could also just not watch and just listen to this movie, and you'd still enjoy it, because music is a humongous part of it. Other than the Academy Award nominated, one of the songs being nominated for an Academy Award, it's just the arrangements, the scores, is something you just do not hear very often. I mean, yeah, it's a staple of old Disney, but you do not hear that today. So if you want to see a nice contrast to what we see today in Disney animated features, Bambi is just right up there. It's so beautifully orchestrated. So yeah, give it a shot. If you haven't watched Bambi, or if you haven't watched Bambi in a long time, yeah, it might be time to pull that out, whether you got kids or not. It's an hour and 10 minutes, and it's a classic for a reason. And set everything down, just curl up on the couch and take it in. It's a good time. So right now, we're going to do one of the things that I actually love doing. I really enjoy doing this. Come on. I love picking the new thing. It's a little exciting for me because, again, I don't know what I'm going to get. It decided to reset itself again, stupid browser, but I'm going to generate a new number, and it's 465, about the midway point, 465. Let's bring it up here. Come on. My network is slow. 465. How about I just fast forward. 4, 6, 5. Okay, we got another movie or special. I don't know what this is, but I'm betting it's not made for me. Just like I said about Teen Beach 2, but I really love that. So we'll see what we get here with 465 Rip Girls. Rip Girls. Don't know. Might hate it, might love it. I have no idea, but it's got Rip Girls in it, apparently. Whatever that is. So, yeah, I've talked long enough. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you back here. Check out Rip Girls as I do, and we'll meet back here tomorrow for tomorrow's Disney Plus Everyday Challenge Adventure.